There are few places on Earth where the balance of nature is still in the hands of Mother Nature without the need of man's interference. There are even fewer places where virtually all of the original pre-European species still exist. One such place is on the Great Kenyan savanna called the Masai Mara. Giant herds of antelope roam across the grasslands, being shadowed by four great predators: the elusive leopard, the misunderstood hyena, the lightning-fast cheetah, and the lord of the bush, the lion. Jumbo, I'm Bill Ball, and I'm going to be your guide on this episode of Journeys in Africa. And this is Africa. The Africa experience was summed up by Ernest Hemingway when he said, "All I wanted to do was to get back to Africa. We had not left it yet, but when I would wake at night, I would lie, listening, homesick for it already." Join us each week as we explore the entire continent of Africa, from the plains of the Serengeti to the heights of Kilimanjaro and all points in between. We'll introduce you to the history, culture, and wildlife of one of the most exotic and extraordinary places on Earth. Journeys in Africa. The Masai Mara is located in East Africa in the southwestern corner of Kenya at the border of Tanzania. It is part of a much larger ecosystem that includes the Serengeti and Ngorongoro crater on the Tanzania side. The area of the Masai Mara is nearly 600 square miles, while the whole ecosystem covers over 12,000 square miles. That's nearly the size of Switzerland. There are two ways to access the Mara, as it is known. You could fly into one of the private airstrips, or as most people, you can drive. It is just a few hours from the gateway city of Nairobi and its international airport. There is no land connection currently between the Serengeti and the Masai Mara, making visiting both parks in the same trip quite inconvenient. Last year we picked up the migration in the Serengeti, so this year we decided to go to the Masai Mara. In the Masai Mara, they come here in about June and they leave in October. Whether you visit during the migration or not, you will not be disappointed. Year-round, 10 of the Big 12 are possible to be seen: elephant, black rhino, buffalo, lion, leopard, hyena, zebra, giraffe, hippo, and cheetah. But when you add in the migration, numbers explode. Not only the wildebeest and zebra numbers, the two main migrants, but the predators as well. In fact, the Mara has one of the highest lion concentrations in the world, with over 500 lions prowling the grasslands in the bush country. The annual wildebeest migration moves in a southeast to northwest pattern, following the rains and the availability of grasses. Wildebeest are the dominant herbivore in the greater Masai Mara Serengeti ecosystem. Every ecosystem has its top plant eater. Central India has its chital or spotted deer. Yellowstone has the elk, and Alaska the moose. Each animal is well designed to exploit the resources of the area where it lives. Wildebeest are grazers, where incisors are designed to most efficiently eat the grasses of the savanna. So efficiently, that is, that 1.5 million plus of them have to keep moving or starve. The lines of wildebeest can extend for miles and contain thousands of animals. Zebra and gazelles often mix in, giving even greater numbers of animal on the move. There is no set distance covered in a day. Often the animals linger in an area for a week or more. It all depends on food and some primeval instinct. Wildebeest have no leader or dominant male to lead them. They just seem to move by some group mentality that is not yet fully understood. Following the herds closely are the predators, the chief of which is the lion. These are the second biggest cats in the world. The tiger is larger, weighing up to 500 pounds. They hunt in groups or prides of 2 cats or more. Some of the prides in the Mara reach 30 individuals. They hunt collectively for prey larger than themselves like zebra, buffalo, and of course wildebeest, especially during the migration. In captivity, lions have been known to live over 20 years, but in the wild, they are lucky if they make it to their 15th birthday. It is a difficult life being a top predator. Most, if not all, your prey can inflict a fatal injury, either from a jaw-breaking kick or a deep gouge from horns. Lions will also attack and kill each other over territory. Life at the top does not come without significant risks. During the non-migration months, food is scarce and starvation among the young and very old is not uncommon. But during the migration, there is a bounty. Lions hunt by ambush. It may be hard to believe that one large lion can hide in 2 or 3 foot tall grass without detection, let alone a whole pride of several cats. But that is exactly what happens. Watch carefully as lions seem to appear and disappear in the sea of blowing grasses on the Mara. This hard-to-capture footage demonstrates the ability of lions to literally vanish before your eyes. When they smell or see prey approaching, they wait for that right moment and bam! They strike. Here, for instance, out of nowhere is a male. Lions will often lie in wait in a semicircle pattern so that the unwary is trapped once they stumble into the lion's lair. The other preferred hunting method is to stalk closely to the prey and make a last-minute close dash, hoping to catch their next meal distracted or off guard. We approach another lion pride and notice that their behavior is a bit odd for the daytime. Lions will take prey in ambush during the day. It's like a gift. But stalking is most effective at dusk or dawn. But it is the peak of the migration, and you've got to get it when you can. The male begins to move in a stealth mode. He walks and pauses. He doesn't want to draw attention. The wildebeest are on the move. They are not quiet and don't take many precautions when migrating. They have numbers, and that can be protection enough. The male lion enters the bush to attempt the ambush. The vultures are already in position, having seen the lions and the approaching wildebeest. We lose sight of the male. There has to be females nearby, but we don't see them. For a moment, I have an eerie feeling. A pride has to be around us, and yet, only one lion was easy to see. We see only trees. The wildebeest seem confused, running in both directions, and then they're gone. No sign of the lions. Something must have happened. So it was time to drive in the direction where the lions and the wildebeest would intersect. Now is the time to divert your eyes if you are a bit squeamish. I'll tell you when to look again. We found a lioness on a freshly killed wildebeest. It is the law of nature, survival of the fittest, and without making a kill, the lion could not survive. But it is still hard to watch the aftermath. The male was not in sight, which means there was a second animal taken that we did not see, or he had eaten earlier today, since males always eat first, despite the fact that most of the hunting is done by the ladies. This lioness seems in no hurry, which would not be the case in leaner months, when competition for food forces even lions to eat as much as possible in as short a period of time as possible. Oh, okay, you can look now. There's only one animal that can possibly drive a lion off of a kill, and then eat it themselves, and that's a hyena. Don't get me wrong, other animals can and do drive lions off of prey or move them out of their area. I've personally witnessed both buffalo and elephants do it, but they do it for personal safety. Only hyenas will attempt it for food. It takes a lot of hyenas to drive off even one lion, let alone a pride. But hyenas have large family groups or clans that can drive predators off their kills. Leopards and cheetahs are no match, especially when the cats are dining alone. The Masai Mara researchers are studying the territory and feeding habits of its hyenas and are radio collaring some individuals. The collars do not seem to interfere with the animal's life and automatically fall off after a predetermined time period. Hyenas are special animals. Despite their reputation as a cowardly scavenger, they are now known as efficient and prolific hunters. In fact, the largest number of wildebeest young are taken by hyenas, not lions or leopards. They weigh up to 180 pounds and have the strongest jaws of any predators, giving them the ability to chew through bones for the marrow inside. They tend to live longer than lions, sometimes making it to the age of 20. Recent studies have found that half of the hyena's diet is by their own kills. That is not far off from some lion groups that scavenge leopard and cheetah kills. Hyenas are built for endurance, with their strangely shaped bodies where they literally slope downward. When making a kill, they scatter a herd and select an individual that they chase until it's exhausted. Hyena can run for miles, wearing prey down like no other predator. Predators from lions and hyenas are not the only worry for wildebeest. The river crossings pose a great threat for a number of reasons. First, wildebeest do drown. In the mad rush to cross a river, some don't make it. Others are caught by crocodiles, another mega predator, while some are hurt in the scramble down or up the bank and break a leg, a fatal injury. Though the wildebeest are not the smartest hoofed animals, they do recognize the danger of river crossings and play out an age-old ritual before making the commitment. The wildebeest will gather at the river's edge in ever-increasing numbers. They hesitate, move forward, then retreat back, and then freeze. To see a river crossing is one of the highlights of the Mara experience, and many safari goers dedicate the better part of a day to the off chance that it happens. I wanted to find out the odds of a crossing happening, so I asked our local guide, Dowdy, a few questions about his many years of living and guiding in the Mara. How often do they cross across the river? Is it daily or just once in a while?
You find it for the wildebeest, let's say now when they're coming. You know, they can, the first times, when they came from Serengeti, come down here to Mara. So the first day, the first times, let's say the first week, they usually be relaxing first of all, and then later they can just like crossing almost each and every day. But there's no specific time.
Like so many others, we wait for the wildebeest to gather in large enough numbers that they often push those in front down the bank. The initial first few over the bank trigger the others to follow, and a crossing is made. The numbers are growing, but the movement is not consistently forward. We had heard reports that there had been a crossing the day before, so our hopes were high. June through August is the peak season for wildebeest to enter the Mara and cross the Mara River, which bisects the park. The banks can have an 18-foot vertical drop, but that does not deter the wildebeest. No one knows how many are lost crossing rivers, but the numbers can reach thousands. That's still a fraction of the 1.5 million that migrate. The more I watch the antelope, wildebeest are members of the antelope family, the more I'm sure that there will be no crossing today at the Mara River. The Mara River is not the only river in the park the wildebeest must cross on their epic journey, though it is the most spectacular with its 100-foot wide swim. Smaller river and tributaries can also give a sensation of the crossing, though with reduced risk to the animals. I know of one of those crossings, so we head in that direction. We seem to arrive just in time as a large wildebeest herd gather on the bank with a handful of zebra accompanying them. Again, they could turn back at any time and the photo opportunity would be lost. We did not have to wait long, though, for the wildebeest to answer our question. Suddenly, without warning, the mass of four-legged wanderers of the savannah came running down the bank and into the shallow river. It was chaos with hoofs. Some would climb on the backs of others if they weren't moving fast enough. Others would push with their heads and inevitably their horns. Several stumble on the rocks, but none seemed to fall. It was an incredible sight, even though this small river was too shallow to swim in. The animals near the stampede made for great photos. I wasn't sure what caused the sudden move into the river, but as the animals cleared, I had a possible explanation. Not far behind the mass of wildebeest was a leopard. I wasn't sure that the leopard was spotted, no pun intended, by the wildebeest, causing the sudden lurch into the ravine, or if he had followed them, hoping for one to break a leg or worse, making for easy pickings. The wildebeest and zebra all made it across without major injury, something that seemed almost too good to be true. The animals, especially the zebra, were quite vocal about making it across the potential death trap. As quickly as the herd had gathered and crossed, they had left the area in search of greener pastures. The excitement of the crossing and the brief encounter with the leopard was a great find, but one thing I have learned from safaris is one good sighting often leads to another. Animals tend to congregate, and so we decided to head off into the direction of the wildebeest. We were rewarded fairly quickly with another set of lions in the grass. Now, one of my safari rules actually helped us spot these very elusive and well-camouflaged lions. Look for other vehicles to alert you to a good sighting. That works everywhere in the world. Yellowstone, Kruger, Kaziringa in India, Pandatal in Brazil, the Canadian Rockies, you name it. Let others help. More eyes, more sightings. Other people seeing an animal, though, doesn't beat the thrill of being the first to spot a rarity. Being first could also give you the ideal placement for watching the behavior unfold. Being so close to these lions, and even knowing that they were there, having them literally disappear in the grass, was a bit eerie. It is no wonder the park has a strict no leaving the vehicle rule. You could easily walk right up to a lion without knowing it, since they are so well camouflaged. It is easy to get totally caught up in the wildebeest and their remarkable migration, and the lions that hunt them, and forget the abundance of other wildlife in the Mara. One of the biggest and toughest of these animals is another member of the Big 12. If you aren't familiar with the Big 12, they are the animals that all safari goers want to see. They include the old Big Five from the hunting days: the lion, leopard, buffalo, elephant, and rhino. The Big 12 is for camera hunters, and they also include the other rhino species, black and white or hook-lipped and square-lipped depending on your preference, giraffe, zebra, hippo, hyena, cheetah, and wild dog. These are the mega herbivores and predators of the African plain. Now back to our next sighting, the big and tough buffalo. Buffalo were listed on the original Big Five for hunters because they are the most unpredictable of the group. They charge anything that's a threat. If a hunter would wound a buffalo, instead of fleeing like other members of the Big Five, they would often double back and attack the hunter. Because of the abundance of grass in the Mara, the herds here are larger than most other parks. Because of their size, over a ton, and the size of the herds, they are pretty safe from predators, including the lion. Given the volume of easier game here, lions will often avoid the buffalo. The only way for lions to capture buffalo is to drive the herd into a stampede and hope one is tripped or stumbles, making for an easy kill. The buffalo move as a unit, making it hard to single out individuals. In the classification of animals, one might be tempted to put buffalo in the same category as antelope. They do have an antelope-like body, though it's much more bulky. They have horns and are herbivores or plant eaters. They even look a bit like the wildebeest, which is most certainly an antelope. But they are not an antelope at all. In fact, they are related to cattle. They do have a distant relative in Asia, the water buffalo. The Asian cousin is not as bulked up, has straighter pointed horns, and has more of a placid disposition. The water buffalo have been domesticated for over 5,000 years, while the African or Cape buffalo have remained wild. One of the most distinguishing features of the African buffalo is its horns. The horns in adult animals have developed fused bases, making them especially thick, a sort of bone shield for the skull that is so strong that even a rifle bullet cannot penetrate it. These are gregarious animals that protect each other when attacked, watch out for the young who are most vulnerable, and work together in their search of water, something necessary for survival. In fact, African buffalo are one of the most common and widespread of the big game animals. They are found across East and Southern Africa, with related subspecies extending the range across central and western parts of the continent. Only places they are not found are the desert regions due to their need for water. There are an estimated to be nearly 1 million wild buffalo in Africa, predominantly found in protected reserves. The biggest threat to buffalo today is habitat loss, as with most wildlife, but also uniquely from disease. In the 1890s, vast herds were decimated in southern Africa by rinderpest, a disease now declared eradicated by the World Health Organization in 2011. It is only the second such disease that was eradicated, the other being smallpox. The current threat is bovine tuberculosis, which had a recent outbreak at Kruger National Park in South Africa. Despite all of this, buffalo are classified as least threatened, meaning they are not likely to be endangered anytime soon. It is a thrill to see the vast herds in the Mara, and a bit comforting to know that they will likely remain for generations to come. On the Serengeti side, last year, we followed the massive herds of wildebeest and zebra across the open savanna. They were at their peak movement and were marching in lines that extended several miles. The sheer numbers were amazing. Through the Serengeti, the wildebeest march in this almost single-file formation and then suddenly stop for days and eat, basically eating themselves out of house and home, forcing them to move on. Their goal is the Masai Mara, where the grass is literally greener on the other side of the river. Interestingly, the Serengeti is much larger than the Masai Mara, comprising over 33% of the greater ecosystem, while the Mara makes up less than 10%. Another big herbivore that is found in particularly good numbers in the Mara is the world's largest antelope, the eland. Eland are sexually dimorphic, which is a fancy way of saying that males and females look different. As in the case of many, though not all antelope, the males are bigger than the females. Males can exceed 2,000 pounds, while females usually hover around half that weight. Something that sets eland apart from other antelope and most other horned animals is that the female's horns are actually longer than the males, though the males do tend to be thicker. Eland are herd antelope, with some of the herds in the Masai Mara reaching into the hundreds. It is a good thing they travel in large herds and are the biggest antelope, which helps protect them, since they are also the slowest of the antelope. Their top speed is 25 miles per hour, or slightly faster than humans. Our sprinting record holders run a paltry 23 miles per hour compared to the king of sprinting, the cheetah, which can clock in at 55 miles an hour. Like a human sprinter, the eland will quickly tire at its top speed. Eland are more like marathon runners, able to run at 14 miles per hour, about half of their top speed indefinitely, which coincidentally is about the same speed as a record holder for the marathon. Eland are not considered endangered, though their numbers have been dropping. The International Union for Conservation of Nature, or the IUCN, has listed them as least concerned for extinction. The IUCN is the world's oldest and largest global environmental network, created out of the United Nations Education, Science, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, the same group that created the World Heritage List, which includes the Masai Mara. The Union for Conservation has over 1,000 governmental and non-governmental organizations as members and works with over 11,000 volunteer scientists in over 160 countries to monitor wildlife and the environment. They are headquartered near Geneva, Switzerland. There are currently about 136,000 eland in the wild, with about half of its population in protected areas and 30% on private property. The growing number on private lands is due to its value as a game animal and for a photo safari checklist animal. Eland are shy in the wild and are hard to photograph, making them an antelope that all safari goers are keen on capturing on film. The Masai Mara is a game-rich area that has wildlife to suit all tastes. There is big game representing many of the Big 12, small game, and abundant bird life that will challenge even the most ardent birders. The size of the park at first seems manageable, but you soon realize that it is one of the larger parks with rough dirt tracks and wildlife around every corner that one safari visit is never enough. We drew that conclusion early in our visit, and we knew we had to extend our stay. We had seen some incredible wildlife and should, by all accounts, be satisfied. But we wanted more. We got that ever so short glimpse of the leopard after the wildebeest crossing, and that compelled us to extend our stay to try to tell the leopard story, just as we have told the lion and the wildebeest story in this show. We knew that getting a good leopard sighting is tough, and we could only extend for another day and a half, but we had to try. I'm Bill Ball, and I'll see you on the next episode of Journeys in Africa. The Serengeti hosts one of the greatest concentrations of big game in the world, and yet, each year the numbers swell even more as the migration passes through. It is a sight every wildlife enthusiast should have on their bucket list. Join us as we give you an insight into visiting the greatest wildlife stage on Earth, Serengeti, the Great Migration.
Jumbo, I'm Bill Ball, and I'm going to be your guide on this episode of Journeys in Africa. And this is Africa.
The African experience was summed up by Ernest Hemingway when he said, "All I wanted to do was get back to Africa. We had not left it yet, but when I would wake at night, I would lie, listening, homesick for it already." Join us each week as we explore the entire continent of Africa, from the plains of the Serengeti to the heights of Kilimanjaro and all points in between. We'll introduce you to the history, culture, and wildlife of one of the most exotic and extraordinary places on Earth. Journeys in Africa. The Serengeti is the most famous national park in Africa. All other national parks in the world are measured by the Serengeti. For instance, Lammer Valley in Yellowstone is called the Serengeti of America, and Kaziringa National Park is the Serengeti of India. The Serengeti is located in the northwest of Tanzania, bordering Kenya. It is part of a larger ecosystem that includes the Ngorongoro Conservation Area and the Masai Mara Game Reserve in Kenya. It is an astonishing 5,400 square miles, or slightly larger than the state of Connecticut. Not surprisingly, it is one of the largest parks in Tanzania and one of the largest in the world. The normal tourist route does Ngorongoro first and then heads to the Serengeti. Well, on the way to the Serengeti, we chose to go a different route, one that most people don't go, because we wanted to see this natural phenomena called the shifting sands. That pile of sand has been moving for hundreds of years across the floor of the Serengeti here as a unit, staying together. No one can really explain why. Some scientists hypothesize that it may be magnetic sand holding it together. These shifting sands, as they are rightfully called, are really ash particles from a volcanic eruption. The ash is so fine that it sticks together to form the dunes. The shifting sands are an example of what is called a crescent-shaped dune. This one is about 30 feet high and 300 feet following the curve. The predominantly easterly winds push it forward and shape the dune. The site is sacred to the Maasai, and only women are allowed to visit it. They give offerings by burying them in the sand. As the dune moves, the offerings are returned, ensuring good fortune. It isn't long before we enter the Serengeti proper. This UNESCO World Heritage Site and Biosphere Reserve is one of the most important wildlife parks in the world. It is home to over 70 species of mammals and 518 species of birds. In sheer numbers, the animal population is awesome. 2,500 lions, the largest concentration anywhere, 1,400 plus elephants, 21,000 buffalo, 250,000 Thompson gazelle, 200,000 zebra, and over 70,000 impala. It is what most people imagine wild Africa to be. The area that is today's national park was first opened in the 1920s. By 1929, the Central Serengeti was made a full game reserve. It was declared a national park in 1951, and the present boundaries were set in 1965. The park is now open for game drives from sunup to sunset. With an extensive network of groomed dirt tracks, it is easy to get around the park to observe the plentiful wildlife. The large numbers and diversity of wildlife would be enough to warrant its own World Heritage and Biosphere Reserve status, but something very special happens here every year.
What you're about to see is simply unbelievable. The first time I saw it, I couldn't wrap my mind around the numbers. 2 million animals basically migrating from the southeast corner of the Serengeti ecosystem to the northwest corner. Every year, around the clock, they keep this migration going. And here, the biggest number of all the animals are the wildebeest. 1.5 million of these animals do that migration.
You might ask why these animals make the trek each year. They do it for the same reason we go to the grocery store or to our favorite restaurant: food. The primary migrant is the wildebeest. These comical antelope are said to have been put together by a committee using all spare parts. And yet, they are the dominant herbivore in Serengeti. Oh yeah, they sound funny too. They are thoroughly adapted to fit this environment. Their wide row of incisors can grab more grass per bite than virtually any other grazer. Of course, there is a downside to that. It is that efficiency that exhausts an area of its grasses and forces them to move on. And move on, they do. They will cover hundreds of miles during the migration, and the line of wildebeest can extend over 25 miles long, with literally hundreds of thousands of animals. I'm a trivia buff, and here's a trivia fact about the migration I bet you've never heard. During the trek, the migrants create over 420 tons of dung each day. Now that's a lot of, well, you get the idea. The migration follows a general pattern of southeast to northwest, leaving the dry grasses of the Serengeti plains and moving to the parts of the ecosystem near Lake Victoria, where there is a permanent water supply. Generally, the migration begins in May and June, and by August, the vast majority has crossed in the Masai Mara in Kenya. The migration is not without its risks. At the river crossings into Kenya, many of the wildebeest are lost, some taken by crocodiles, while others simply drowned. It is a risk that they take to get to greener pastures. Of course, the wildebeest do not adhere to any boundaries, and many actually leave the protected areas and enter private lands, where they're again vulnerable. In November, as the rains return to the Serengeti, so do the herds. During the migration, an average of 8,000 young are born every day, and with the law of nature, many don't make it. One of the main reasons for the high mortality rate is the predators, who follow the herds looking for an easy meal. Surprisingly, the major predator of calves are hyenas. Hyenas are not only scavengers that we assume they are, but they're also efficient and aggressive hunters as well. They take many calves in the first 2 days, but rarely bother afterwards, since the wildebeest young quickly gain their legs and can run with the herd. To counteract the high predation rate after birth, wildebeest time their birthing so that 90% of the young are born within weeks of each other. That guarantees that many will survive. Wildebeest aren't the only migrants. Zebras migrate as well. Though only 1/6 the number of wildebeest, the zebra's migration often mixes with the wildebeest and is quite impressive. Zebra move as a family unit, with each unit joining up with the other groups to form large herds. Each family is dominated by a stallion with up to a dozen female and young. Other migrants include Thompson and Grant's gazelles, but other antelope species choose to be residents and do not leave their home territories, like Eland, impala, and hartebeest. Though the annual migration plays a major role in the ecosystem of the Serengeti, it is not the only drama that plays out here.
One of the classic cases of conflict in the Serengeti. You've got hippopotamuses in the water, they've got young, they're watching the crocodile on shore, and he's not going to really do anything. He's afraid of the hippos. They could actually probably snap him in half if he ever came at him, but they're still not taking their eyes off of him. Again, it's survival of the fittest, and you've got two big survivors out there, each facing each other down.
Some of the largest Nile crocodiles can be found in the Serengeti. They are well fed by unwary animals that come to drink along the shores. But surprisingly, they are not the dominant water animal. That honor goes to the hippopotamus. Their name is derived from the Greek for water horse. Though they do spend their days in the water, they are no horse. Hippos are the third largest land animal in Africa. Only the elephant and white rhino are larger. Hippos can weigh up to 3 tons and are excellent swimmers. They can dive for 3 to 6 minutes at a time. It is rare to see them out of the water during the daytime. They overheat easily and need the water to stay cool. At night, though, they come out to feed on the grasses. They can travel several miles in a night and eat upwards to 200 pounds of vegetation. If you love hippos, and who doesn't, the Serengeti is the place for you. Here is one of the largest, most densely packed hippo pools anywhere in the world. We counted at least 120 hippos here in the short stretch of the Orange River. The males are very territorial, so it is rare not to see one without several scars on their back. Those teeth are nearly 1 foot long. Even people have to be wary around water, as hippos have killed more people than any other big animal in Africa. Waterways, though, are not just good for crocs and hippos, but birds are quite plentiful here as well. The variety of aquatic birds makes each little watering hole a birder's paradise. Here, cattle egrets mix with sacred ibis, Egyptian geese, and little egrets. But this is just the tip of the birder's iceberg. The Serengeti is also famous for its raptors, eagles, buzzards, kites, and falcons. They come in all sizes and take prey as small as a grasshopper and as large as a young antelope. Probably the most famous raptor in Africa is the vulture. Yeah, vultures are raptors. Hook, beak, and talons make a bird a raptor. They are especially important to the Serengeti because they are the cleanup crew and help prevent diseases by eating the last of a carcass's scraps. There are several species of vultures in the Serengeti with a pecking order, so to speak, of who feeds in what order. Sort of like garbage collection, yard waste, regular garbage, then recycling. But here, it's all recycling all the time. But the favorite bird in the Serengeti has to be the ostrich. This is the largest bird in the world. It has traded flight for size and strength. It is a member of the ratatite family, a whole family of flightless birds, though none are as tall as the ostrich. It seems that the largest and tallest are a key when it comes to Africa. The tallest animal in the world is also found in the Serengeti, the giraffe. The scientific name for giraffe basically describes it, Giraffe camel-laripalis, which means as big as a camel, but spotted like a leopard. The Serengeti subspecies has the Masai giraffe, and it has irregular star-shaped spots that help it blend in with the mixed acacia savanna, typical for this area. Over 6,000 giraffe inhabit the park. They may look ungainly with those long legs, but those are weapons. One swift kick can kill their chief predator, the lion. And lions are what people come to see in the Serengeti, and you will see them. The Serengeti has one of the highest concentrations of lions anywhere. Even after the migration has left an area, resident prides stay to defend their territories while the nomadic lions follow the herd. Lions have been studied in the Serengeti for over 3 decades. This female has a collar that allows researchers to track her movements. With that information, park officials can influence policymakers about the needed size of parks to maintain territories that are large enough for lions to keep a viable genetic pool. Lion prides consist of a number of related females, be it sisters, mothers, daughters, or cousins, with their cubs, and a dominant male or sometimes brothers. The females do most of the hunting while the males defend the territory. Most of the time on safari, lions can be spotted when they're resting. They do most of their hunting under the cover of darkness. In the Serengeti, lions can often be found resting in trees. This makes for great photo opportunities and easy observation.
You might be wondering why lions would climb up a tree. There are a lot of reasons. One is to see prey farther away, but in this case they're kind of sleeping. Another reason is to dry off their peds. It just rained here, and that will save their feet from all kinds of foot diseases. A big reason is flies. They can get up in the tree and they can avoid a lot of the flies. And also when they're up in the tree, it's a little bit cooler. They can catch the breeze. These lions, they're going to be down for the day. They're going to be sitting up there sleeping the rest of the afternoon.
Another reason, particularly during this time of year, that lions rest in trees is the migration. Lions don't want to be trampled. Remember Simba's father in Lion King? Lions' faces are like people's fingerprints and allow researchers to identify individual animals by scars, ears, and whisker patterns. Researchers have also found that individual animals have distinct personalities, prefer certain types of game, and rest in regular spots. Lions, of course, aren't the only big predators in the Serengeti. The hardest of the big 5 to see is another big cat, the leopard. Generally during the day they rest in trees and only a paw or a tail may give them away. While lions hunt as a pride, Leopards are solo hunters relying on the element of surprise. The Serengeti is a particularly good area to see this spotted cat because of the abundance of one of its favorite foods, the impala. Impala are harem animals with one lucky male getting as many as 100 females. Males rigorously defend their territory and females from intruding males. This guarantees only the dominant male will be able to pass his genetics on to the next generation. The Serengeti is home to as many as 20 species of antelope, of which the wildebeest and impala are but 2. The largest and smallest antelope of Africa are found here. Dik-dik are the smallest, weighing in at a whopping 10 pounds. They are usually found in pairs, no harems here, and are no bigger than a small dog. While only the males have horns, the females make up for it by size. They are bigger. Talking about larger in size, the eland is the largest member of the antelope family in the world, weighing in at 2,000 pounds. That would amount to about 200 dik-diks. Astonishingly, these big boys of the antelope world are extremely camera shy and thus are one of the hardest to photograph. The Serengeti is so large and the habitat so varying that it pays to spend at least 2 or 3 days here. Tonight we're staying in the Sonora section of the park, which just happens to be the area where the migration is reached and is best for spotting big cats year-round. You don't have to give up comfort to be part of this wildlife spectacle. The rooms have all the amenities that one would like and need, despite being literally located in the middle of nowhere. Meals are served in large dining rooms with a limited menu that changes daily. The food is continental with an African flair. But the most surprising part of dinner has to be the kitchen staff suddenly breaking into local and native songs. This is only one of the many unusual services offered in the Serengeti. Another is registering for a balloon trip over the Serengeti, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. One big hint here, either book the balloon trip before you leave home by contacting your tour provider, or be the first in line that evening before, even before the balloon company arrives to take the reservations. This sells out fast, and you don't want to be disappointed. The one drawback to the balloon trip? They start early. I mean, really early. The pickup from the hotel is around 4 a.m. The optimal launch time is dawn, so early it has to be. On the upside, there's a good chance to see wildlife on the way. This is the active time for predators. Upon arriving at the launch site, the first thing that strikes you is the frantic pace of the balloon workers. The window for a successful launch can be short, so it all has to go according to plan. Safety, though, comes first, whether you like it or not. So it's the safety talk before all else.
When we stop, don't run away before I tell you, okay? Because if 2 people jumps out, we lose the weight.
To watch a balloon launch is a beautiful thing. It is even better to be in the launch. It is actually a very easy experience to ride in a balloon. There are no bumps or jerky movements. You simply get a sensation of floating, which is what you're actually doing. The flight is very smooth, no rocking. The basket doesn't even swing at all. It is quite simply one of the most relaxing things you can do. And yet, when you're in a balloon over the Serengeti, the last thing you want to do is relax. From the vantage point of the air, you can see the world unfold below you. Hard to spot animals, like the cheetah, the fastest animal alive, can be seen. The vastness of the Serengeti is apparent as the balloon glides over the savannah. The balloons hold anywhere from 10 to 16 people. These are huge balloons. Most balloon companies and pilots in Africa are European-based, so the safety of operations is at the highest of Western standards. The early departure allows the sharp observer to see the nocturnal animals, like hyenas, end their shift to be replaced by the day crew. Even the more common animals, like giraffes, seem different from the air. Photo opportunities abound. After landing, a champagne breakfast awaits, and really, what could be cooler than toasting your journey in the middle of the bush?
We have a tradition here in the Serengeti. Whoever catches the cork is the pilot for tomorrow morning's flight.
Also in the middle of the bush are large formations called kopjes. These rock formations consist of granite, which due to erosion and weathering has broken up into a jumbled pile of ancient rock. Most remarkable, these islands in the savanna have their own ecosystem with their own vegetation and animals. They provide lookouts for predators and home to other creatures. One of these is the closest relative to the elephant. The hyrax, or daisies as they're known, are cousins to the elephant. They look like rodents, but their bone structure, genetics, and evolution follow the ancestral line of elephants. They're rock dwellers. They live in holes within the kopje and never stray more than 50 to 60 yards off the rock outcroppings as they forage for grasses. They live in colonies that are divided into families of a male and several females with young. They set aside areas within their territory for sunbathing, resting, toilet, and feeding. Though their cousins, the elephants, weigh 7 tons, they're lucky if they tip the scales at 7 pounds. This makes them vulnerable to smaller cats, jackals, and large birds of prey. Another full-time resident of the kopje, that's spelled Kopje, is the klipspringer, one of the small antelope. Always in pairs, this goat-sized antelope is a climber's dream. They stand on the tip of their narrow hooves, jumping from rock to rock. They mate for years at a time in a monogamous pairing, together marking their territory with scent glands located near their eyes. A variety of other creatures, both big and small, are based in the kopje, but regularly fan out to feed. One of these is a fierce predator, the mongoose. Sure, they look cute, but that's only because we're bigger than they are. These banded mongoose travel and hunt in large related groups, eating any insect or small animal that crosses their path. They follow regular routes, hunting and eating as they go. Not all animals found in the kopje live there. Some use them for temporary shelter, feeding grounds, or lookouts. However they're used, the kopjes are an essential part of the Serengeti. They are also one of the most visible parts of the national park's geologic history. The underlying geology of the Serengeti is volcanic rock over 2.5 million years old. The area surrounding the Serengeti has been dominated by extreme volcanic activity and the movement of the tectonic plates, which form the Great Rift Valley extending through much of Africa. Even the rocks in the outcroppings show evidence of this much earlier geologic activity. These rocks clearly show the direction that the plates moved the last time in this area. As you go further north, away from the volcanic core in the Ngorongoro, the soil is deeper and less alkaline, allowing larger plants and woodlands to develop. It is in that direction that we head today. The Serengeti is so large that it takes several days to fully explore. Taking a lodge or camp in the north end of the park is a good way to cover most of the territory. During the migration, one end of the park may be packed with wildebeest and zebra, while the other end has only the resident antelope, the non-migrants. Hartebeest are one such antelope. Preferring the longer grassland areas, they are pure grazers. They get their name, hartebeest, from their horns, which are shaped like a heart. A similar-looking grazer, the topi, favor the floodplains. Both hartebeest and topis may share a territory. Topi are fast runners. They're the speedsters of the antelope world, relying on their speed to avoid predators. As we drive further north, we get a real feel for the distances the migrants travel. There is no way to drive to the north end of the park and easily return to the central Sonora area in the same day, so we spend a night up in the north. During the latter stages of the migration, this is the place to be since the zebra and wildebeest cross the Grumeti River here to enter the Masai Mara in Kenya. As the sun sets in the Serengeti, it means a welcome night for us visitors and a promise of another adventure on the great wildlife plains the next day.
The Serengeti has certainly proved itself. Its geology, its flora, its landscapes, and of course, the animals. Not only did we see the migration, it was mind-blowing in its numbers, but we also saw those lions and, of course, the elusive leopard. Let's take a look at some of the highlights.
The savanna of the Serengeti is teeming with wildlife. The most impressive time to be here is during the annual migration when wildebeest and zebra congregate in massive herds and move across the savanna. The predators are not to be outdone by these meals on wheels, or should I say hoof. They are many safari goers' highlight. Birders will not be disappointed by the diversity and sheer numbers of these beautiful denizens of the bush.
I'm Bill Ball. Kwaheri, on the next episode of Journeys in Africa.